Hello, this is Nancy Heins-Glaser for another wonderful Meet the Artist program, and today we're doing something very exciting. We're doing cake artistry. And for someone who doesn't cook, this is really a treat. And I'm looking forward to introducing you to Chef Lisa from Bittersweet Cake and Designs. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. I had a chance to get to know you through a friend, and it seemed like a perfect opportunity to talk about art and artistry on something that's edible, and here you are. You appeared. Tell us a little bit about you, because you've been living in South Orange for about 20 years or so. Is that what you said?
A little bit more than 20 years. I moved here from Brooklyn, New York with my family, and I've always worked in a corporate finance world, started out in banking. And, you know, I just worked all those years in banking and finance, and a couple of years ago, you know, I just decided I wanted to go back to culinary school. But I always baked, and I always made cakes, and I also made fudge. That's how I started out. You know, friends and family would love to get some of my fudge at holidays, and I would give that to them. And then I just continued on and expanded, and I went to culinary school last year.
So you're really fresh out of culinary school.
Yeah, I graduated.
And you're not a kid, so we know that. Was that hard to go back
Yeah,
to
it was.
school?
It was a tough choice to make, to decide to go back to school and pursue a whole different line of work. But I knew that it was something that, you know, I wanted to do because I enjoyed baking, and, you know, and I figured if I go back and it doesn't work out, then I can go back to finance. But I had no intentions of failing. So, you know, it was an experience for me to have to go back to school with young kids.
The kids, we talked about that, because I did theater for a lot of years, and it was always the young people,
Right.
and me, you know. And I sort of got used to it. They ended up looking up to you, I think, as you said.
It was a little intimidating at first for me, and, you know, I was saying to myself, what am I doing here? And it's a very competitive world. So, you know, I went in there with, you know, these young kids who were trying to be the best pastry chef in the world, and, you know, competing on levels that, you know, were kind of different to me. But, you know, I kept up my own, and I graduated with highest honors, and, you know, at the end of the school term, you know, they were coming over to me and, you know, looking up to me as if I were their big sister. So at first it was, you know, a little intimidating, but then we all were friends in the end.
And ultimately, it comes down to taste. So you must have wowed them with the product. Was that, I mean, is that just like Cake Boss or like any of the other things? Is it all about the taste in the end of the day?
I think it is. You know, it can look pretty and you know, be colorful, but if it doesn't taste good, then it's not worth it to pay all that money and not have a nice tasting cake, you know. So I'm very proud of the way that I've come up with different recipes that, you know, work for me and, you know, provide, you know, tasteful products. So. And
unique, I think. Now we have some photos we might be able to see inserted in the audience.
Okay.
I see here, this is a wedding cake.
Yes.
For sure. No question about that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that how you started really on the commercial side, other than Fudge for Family?
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
you know?
actually, a friend of mine at work wanted to get a cake for her daughter. She was, you know, all into the Twilight theme, you know, the movie and TV program. So she asked me if, you know, if I would be able to make a cake around that theme, and I thought about it, and I said, I don't know, but, you know, I'll try. You know, I'll see what I can come up with. And I ended up coming up with a really nice design based around the Twilight theme, and she loved it. And from there, it just took off. You know,
neighbors telling neighbors telling neighbors.
Yeah, and friends telling friends, and you know, I decided that it was such an enjoyable and, you know, fulfilling hobby at first, and I just decided to pursue it even further. That's what really prompted me to go to culinary school to become a pastry chef, because I felt I wanted to encompass all of the pastry world in order to understand, different compositions of baking and just have, a full knowledge of the industry.
And you said it was pretty intense.
It was.
It was.
It was.
Saturday, Sunday, you gave up your whole weekend.
I gave up my weekends, and I worked during the week and gave up my weekends to go and pursue this dream. And I got on the train every Saturday and Sunday morning, came home tired, but in the end it was still great because I enjoyed myself at school,
Well, was there something that you said was a passion? And I think once you got wind of that,
yes,
it was hard to sort of go back to
yes,
anything else,
it
correct?
was, and I just kept focused on pursuing it because I knew that there was some type of talent, and I just really felt that if I kept practicing and continuing on with making different styles of cakes, that my craft would get better. So and every time I start a new project, it's exciting for me. So it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I'm glad that I chose to switch careers at such a late age, but to me, it's worth it. It's worth it when you're doing something that you love and it's a passion for you. So.
And I know we're going to find out why a little bit later, but how do you come up with your designs? Are you looking to see what's out there? Is it by somebody's specific request?
Well,
Do you take their design and work with it, almost like an interior designer would?
Well, it's a combination of all those things. I do a lot of research on the internet, and I look at other designs and also take the suggestions from the clients, what they're looking for as far as color and if there's a special theme. And, then I work around it in my head, and I come up with a design, and I put it down on paper. And usually when someone is describing to me what they want, I pretty much have the whole design figured out.
In your head?
In my head.
On the phone?
And on the phone.
Or in person?
And then in person. And, in my head, I can put it together. I know exactly how I want it to look. I know the colors that I'm going to use, and then I sketch it out on paper so that I don't forget anything. But usually during that process, it's an initial process, and a lot of times, along the way, I can make changes that'll enhance the cake or complement the cake even more. So it's like the design process never stops. I stick to the initial design of what the customer wants, and that's the most important thing. But there are a lot of times when I become more creative and think like, oh, this will look good here, and that might look good there, and I'll add certain things to it. So it's exciting.
Well, and I know that at some point you're hoping to have your own establishment because you have a commercial kitchen, which you're using now to produce the customers' cakes. But is there any downside to doing that on your own at this time, let's say, in the economy? Would you say that it maybe presents more challenges?
It is challenging, during this time with the recession and everything. But I feel that if I continue on just pursuing what I love to do, that eventually the opportunities will come. I'm really hoping that I will have my own shop one day, and it'll be successful. So
I'm sold, actually. So now, how does one reach you? I know that on your business card. And give us your website, would you please, aloud?
Yes, it's bittersweetcakedesign.com.
Okay. And your phone number is?
It's 973-544-8689.
Okay. Is the best way to reach you by website? Is there a contact us option?
Yes, and the website, the website has all of the contact information as well as all of the designs, all the cakes that I've done, because I also do cupcakes and cookies, as you can see the cupcakes here.
Which are hot right now.
Yes.
I mean, cupcakes,
Yes.
Every time you turn around, there's a cupcake something happening.
Yes, it's very fashionable right now to have like
small, and it's a guilty pleasure, and if it's small, it goes away fast, and you
Yeah.
never really felt like you did anything wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's from firsthand experience. But when we were talking about these designs, now these aren't real. We're not going to worry about them melting under the
No,
lights.
these are display cakes that I usually take with me when I go to trade shows, and I bring them out and display them. So they're pretty hard. They're not going to melt.
And this is what you called an example of a
It's
Tiffany.
like a Tiffany style
because
cake,
of the ring.
and it has like the engagement ring on top, and the color. Everyone knows the signature Tiffany color. So this is usually a cake for like an engagement party or a bridal shower. So
Well, and if anyone
popular.
out there is from Tiffany's, hey, we'll give you a chance to reach Chef Lisa. We'll be putting her website down at the end of the credits as well, right? But and of course, I might be the only one that doesn't know those are the signature colors. May mean I've never been there. It's time to go, don't you think?
Yeah.
But anyway, so people pick an idea. Is it usually a theme that they're asking you to produce a cake for, more than a party? Let's say, is it more of a, I don't know. You had one for gambling, I think, at one point,
yeah.
for Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a certain theme that they're looking for, like there was a Louis Vuitton birthday cake that I
They
made.
might have that one. Money coming out of
Money
it.
coming out of it. It was
Right.
50th birthday, and there were $50 bills all over it. There was also a barbecue. This lady was having a barbecue, and I put all the pieces of the barbecue, like the hamburgers and hot dogs, and I made all those by hand.
So it's sort of thematic based on that. Yeah, we have about a minute left, and when we come back from our brief break, I want to talk a little bit about your journey and how you got there. But would a cake like this be something that I could afford in 30 seconds or less? I mean, it seems like they're hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Well, there is a lot of work that goes into creating
It's worth
these,
it. That's
and,
true.
Yeah, I think it's affordable. I mean, I try to match, everyone's budget. So.
Okay, well, and that's good. So that's part of the conversation
Right.
that you might have with somebody.
Yes.
Okay, and so if a customer calls you, you sit down or talk on the phone, decide what you want, and they give you a timetable of when it's done. And
Yes.
that's a whole other thing, is getting things on time. But before we take a break and come back, is there anything you want to say quickly about your cakes?
They're good.
They're good. All right. So stay tuned. Don't turn that dial. And join me back again with Chef Lisa, Bittersweet Cake Design. We'll see you in a second.
After 17 years working as a mason, Mike was laid off. I met him when he came into the library looking for help. He found a job opening, but the application was only online. Mike said he'd spent his entire life around tools, but had never used a computer. I showed him how, and he ended up applying for numerous jobs online. I saw Mike the other day. His new computer skills paid off. He's working again.
New Jersey libraries are transforming lives. Tell us your story.
Does that interest you? Well, come on. Let's have more conversation with Chef Lisa of Bittersweet Cake Design. And before we're done, you're going to run right out and get some. I know of that. But thank you so much. When we went away to break, we were talking a little bit about price, a little bit about you. But what was so interesting when I was talking to you, and why I felt so good about the artistry of your cakes, is the journey you've taken. You started out in finance. And this is an important message for all of us, young people as well as people like me, that you should pursue what you want as a passion. So tell us a little bit of history in the finance corporate world and what you've taken from it to bring you where you are now.
Well, I really feel that being in that industry is still with me today, because I can use it in my business today. I spent a long, probably 20 years, more than 20 years in that industry, in that field, and it's really, I'm glad that I did it. I'm not going to say that I wish I had, done something different, but, going along that route, I think was probably meant to be. because it's going to help me now while I pursue this career.
And develop your business structure, and
right.
because it's, food of any kind, and you mentioned someday you'd love to also have, high-end sandwich shop and nice desserts, but food of any kind, I think people just don't understand. It's very hard to sustain.
It is.
To keep it going.
It is.
It's very costly to produce products.
It is.
It's not like a widget and a gidget.
No.
I mean, we're talking butter and milk and all
Right.
the things that are
And,
so important.
there are certain health regulations that you have to, abide by. So you want to be able to provide, not only good customer service, but you want to be able to have a fresh product and, and keep on top of, all of the things that are needed in the food industry. It's very important. Food safety, which I learned about in school, is very important. And, I didn't realize how much it went, how much went into that industry, and
before you did it.
Before
I mean,
I
you were
did
just
it.
so used to doing it because
Yeah.
everybody demanded, give me the fudge, please.
Right.
And you were just
yeah.
used to doing it. But so then that changed your perspective on a larger scope, I guess,
yes,
right?
It did, because it made me realize that, it's an important industry. People think that, you just bring out your plate or bring out a cookie or a cake and it's done. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. So, it's important to realize the work that goes into creating cakes like this. And I always want to make sure that I provide the best product to my clients. And that's very important to me.
Well, and you seem pretty meticulous. I think I would believe you on that. So you took your financial background, 20 years. I think you said you did maybe some phone stuff, some financial planning.
Credit department and, financial reports. I started out in banking. I was a bank teller right out of high school and worked my way up in that field and decided to just keep on going in the financial industry. But somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that I was supposed to be doing something greater. And one day it would come to me, and it did.
And then eventually, that's the journey part that fascinates me. You mentioned how the name came to be. And of course, I love bittersweet chocolate, so it's really great for me. But there's also another meaning to the name of your company. Tell us a little bit about it. I think that's important.
Well, while I was in school last year, it was a difficult time. My father was terminally ill, and he eventually passed away from Alzheimer's. He never really got a chance to see me fulfill a dream that I had. And, on the day of my graduation, I was excited about achieving such an accomplishment, but I was also sad. So that's how the name came to be. It was bittersweet for me. And I felt that name would, be like an homage to him and help me keep his memory alive.
And you also said you were going to school and your mom could have used the help. You helped wherever you could, but she pushed you and kept you going and said, no, this is what your dad would want. And I think that's important. So that was part of what motivated you to go ahead.
My mother was very supportive. It was a very difficult time for our entire family. And, I was there to help her, my sister, and my brothers. We were all there helping her. But, I felt kind of guilty deciding to do this, at that time. But she said, no, you have to do it.
Go.
You have
it's
to do
where
it.
you were. So it's sort of like the path was there for you. I think we talked that. I don't want to get too spiritual about it, but I do think that sometimes, and it may be you're 75 before it really happens, but all those things may come together to show what you were doing all that rest of the time you were living. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I agree. I think that you can't control when it happens. Like the time that it happened for me, or I had that awakening, so to speak, even though it was a difficult time at home, I struggled to make that decision, but in my heart I knew that this was what I wanted to do. So I'm glad I did. I'm glad that I listened to my heart and went ahead and pursued
And hung out with the kids.
And hung out with
Yeah,
the
right.
kids.
And there certainly is nothing wrong with that.
No,
Because
not at
having,
all.
having done theater for a long time, I started out my second year in, I started playing grandmothers. Well, I was far too young to do that, but whatever. I was acting, and that was the joy of it. And then, but I reached my arc when I finally said, "What are you doing?" And so I stopped after 22 years. So what I find interesting, though, is people have a passion. They try it. It's okay if it doesn't work out, but you never know if
And
you didn't try, right?
And I would probably be upset with myself if I didn't try. So if I try and I fail, it's okay because I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. And if it doesn't work out, at least I can say I did it. I tried and I did it. But I don't think that's going to happen.
No, and it's obvious to me that there's joy in it. And I mean, I think my dad was in the restaurant industry for, 40 years or something. It's a certain type of person because it's really like a gift.
It
when
is.
you're giving this product that you've either molded with your hands or added the right ingredients as a chemist, because you are a chemist when you're
baking
doing
is all
this.
chemistry.
Yes. That there's a certain amount of giving
There is.
involved with that, and there's nothing that makes people happier than to have someone say, that's good.
Right, right.
That's all you want, really, isn't it?
It is. There is
Make
a
a little
joy.
money, maybe, but
Well,
yeah.
that's secondary to me.
Yeah.
I think that the joy to me comes from being able to make someone else happy with,
Right.
and when you bake, and, baking is usually associated with love. You bake with love. You do these things because you want to provide something that someone will be able to indulge in, and I take, great care in being able to provide, a quality product, not just a manufactured product. I use all fresh ingredients. I think that it's important to try to support our local farmers, and, I use, like organic ingredients, and I try to, keep along those lines because I want it to be as fresh as possible. I want people to reminisce back in the day when they were in their grandmother or their mother's kitchen eating a cupcake or eating a slice of cake and get that feeling. So.
Well, I'm getting the
You can
nice,
smell
the waft. It's fabulous. And, there are some people that just are not intended to be active in the kitchen. That would be me. So my mother was a fabulous cook. My dad was a great cook. He was a baker, actually, homemade bread and pies and bread, and that, that's how he made his restaurant trade. But sometimes it skips a generation. That doesn't make me bad, does it?
No.
Well, someday I'll share the experience of trying to make my mother's fudge, but maybe I'll give you the recipe and you can see if you can do something with it. It's so
Sure.
wonderful. But what are your plans and dreams? You want a commercial kitchen? You'd like to maybe have an establishment that allows people to come in?
Initially the goal was to have maybe a private studio where I could just create, cakes. But, that's starting to expand now. I think that I want to do something bigger, like maybe open up a gourmet sandwich and soup shop with,
Like a
pastry.
bistro or
Yeah, like
something
a
with
bistro
special pastries.
with special gourmet pastries. And I could still do my custom cakes, but, this way I could, provide more of what I can do. I am a pastry chef. I can make pretty much anything, so.
And you started out being one of those? Did you get that in the household? Was your mama good?
Yes, my mom is an excellent cook. She's an excellent cook and baker, and this is around this time of the year, the holidays, is when she usually, bakes certain items that we don't get the rest of the year, and we look forward to that. And my grandmother, she was also an excellent cook and baker as well. So, I attribute a lot of that talent coming from them. A lot of it is natural talent and, just picking up pointers from watching them. So.
And, then there are those of us that just have to buy them.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's okay. You need me
That's
too.
okay.
So what do you think kids should know mostly about your experience, your journey from financial world to where you are now? What do you think they should learn and remember and hear from you?
Well, I think, in this economy, the way things are, and I know it looks bleak, coming out of college and there are no jobs and you have a bunch of student loans. But if you're pursuing something that you love to do, or you have an interest in something, just keep at it. Don't give up. It really takes a lot of heart to go after something you love. And, don't look at just making the money or becoming the best of the best. And, find what it is that, lights your fire, so to speak, and pursue that. Don't give up on your dreams at all.
And that's good advice, and it may take a long time before you get there, but if it's really in you, if you have the passion for
That's
it,
right.
sustain it. Find other ways to sustain it. So, and as I said to you, I
And
only have a
listen
minute.
to your inner voice.
Oh,
there.
very good. That's good. It's a minute and a half left, and I've got to spend at least the last 10 seconds eating a cupcake. But what I wanted to know is if there's anybody out there in the audience that you could say something to about how your cakes and cupcakes are different. What would you say? Look right in the camera and tell them. Just tell them why they got to come to you.
Well, I think that my cupcakes and cakes are unique in the way that I use very fresh ingredients. A lot of, places use manufactured cake mixes and a lot of artificial ingredients. And I think that I am the one that's, going to provide you that fresh cake.
So you heard it from her, and I believe her. I don't know about you, but I do. And what I'm going to do is just hold up one of these lovely red velvets.
Yes, that's
for
a
the camera.
raspberry red velvet.
Okay. Is
And,
this a winner? Is this one that everybody
that's
likes?
one of red velvet is my most popular flavor.
A raspberry red velvet.
Raspberry
no
red
less.
velvet.
All right. Well, I don't want to be ridiculous, but I don't want to stop either. So what I'd like to have you do is have a look for Chef Lisa Jackson. And her website is, do it one more time.
It's bittersweetcakedesign.com.
And come on out and enjoy some, and I'll talk to you later. Sorry you don't have any. You'll just have to go get some. Thanks for joining us.